My name is Fred Cook, and I drive school bus.
My name is Leanne Murchie, and I'm a school bus driver for TCAPS. It's been a very wonderful experience.
When I first hired in, one of the previous bus drivers told me that this particular job, driving school bus, is the best job on earth. So I immediately took to it, and I have to agree that this is one of the best jobs that anyone can do.
What prompted me in the very beginning, I have a college degree, and she said, "You're in the safest vehicle in the world on the road." So I thought, well, I'm gonna try. Because I would be on the same time schedule as my own children. And when they were off, I was off. When holidays, I was there. So it was the best of both worlds. TCAPS offers jobs elsewhere within the system.
Between routes, I used to, for 12, 13 years, I did lunch duty over at East Middle School, and now I paint.
They're real good about finding people the hours that they need during the course of the day to make the job great. We have Mesa Insurance. The whole district has it. It's awesome. It's the best health insurance. We offer a 401k. There's a sign-on bonus. It's a win-win situation.
The most important thing, I think, coming to work at TCAPS is you understand that you are part of a team. It's a part of a collective. It's not just bus drivers and then versus teachers. It's not that. We all are in this thing called education together.
If a person likes kids, generally likes kids, this is a perfect job.
So I'm talking to kids all day, and that experience is really heartwarming, and I continue to understand what it means to be a part of the community.
You are an educator. You have a chance to touch children's lives every day. And don't think that you don't. You are such an important part of the wheel of education.
My name is Fred Cook, and I drive school bus.
My name is Leanne Murchie, and I'm a school bus driver for TCAPS. It's been a very wonderful experience.
When I first hired in, one of the previous bus drivers told me that this particular job, driving school bus, is the best job on earth. So I immediately took to it, and I have to agree that this is one of the best jobs that anyone can do.
What prompted me in the very beginning, I have a college degree, and she said, you're in the safest vehicle in the world on the road. So I thought, well, I'm gonna try. Because I would be on the same time schedule as my own children. And when they were off, I was off. When holidays, I was there. So it was the best of both worlds. TCAPS offers jobs elsewhere within the system.
Between routes, I used to, for 12, 13 years, I did lunch duty over at East Middle School, and now I paint.
They're real good about finding people the hours that they need during the course of the day to make the job great. We have Mesa Insurance. The whole district has it. It's awesome. It's the best health insurance. We offer a 401k. There's a sign-on bonus. It's a win-win situation.
The most important thing, I think, coming to work at TCAPS is you understand that you are part of a team. It's a part of a collective. It's not just bus drivers and then versus teachers. It's not that. We all are in this thing called education together.
If a person likes kids, generally likes kids, this is a perfect job.
So I'm talking to kids all day, and that experience is really heartwarming, and I continue to understand what it means to be a part of the community.
You are an educator. You have a chance to touch children's lives every day. And don't think that you don't. You are such an important part of the wheel of education.
Call this board curriculum committee meeting to order. We'd like to welcome the audience and thank you for attending. Viewers may watch the Board of Education meeting and board committee meetings live online at tcaps.net/board. Recorded meetings may be viewed on demand at the same address. Public comment. It doesn't look like we have any public commenters here, unless Beth is switching roles here to make a public comment. No. It's all good.
We're good.
That's what we were just talking about. It's all the construction. So no worries at all. So no public comment. We'll move right into our procedural items. So the first item, we are at the draft meeting minutes. Are there any changes to those draft meeting minutes? So hearing no changes, the minutes will remain as posted. So we'll move on to the district course catalog, and seeing no updates, we'll keep on moving. And then we'll move on to the field trip request. So I will defer to Kristen Prokowski.
All right, this is for an out-of-county trip for students to be able to explore art, culture, and history and have a service learning opportunity. This isn't until the 2026 spring, so March of 2026, to Peru, 10th grade advanced art, photo, and journalism trip. And the details are there, and the trip has followed the process in terms of approval and review of the out-of-county request. So we are asking for this to go to the full board on May 13th.
Perfect. And this is, you said, a 2026 trip.
Correct.
I just had a quick question. Reviewing just the cost per student, what can you tell me about? Is that pretty normal? I mean, $4,900, and I know, I'm sure they're gonna do a lot of fundraising and offset. They usually do. I read that there's a scholarship available. Do you know?
I'd say that's in the range from the other out of country. That's why it's so far in advance. They have 2 years to try to raise the funds.
Okay.
I can look in more detail at the out-of-county and give you a summary if this is in the middle or
Well,
top
I mean,
range.
I trust that they've done all their research. I just want to make sure that we really promote. It sounds like that's the scholarship group that issues, where did I read that? Like $100,000 a year for sort of these international trips. It's an international group that gives grants, just so kids,
Yeah.
all kids know that this trip's available to them. That's, you know,
It
pretty.
is tough. I wish I could tell you that it was easier, you
Yeah.
know, from that standpoint. You know, so many of the things like our Washington DC trip, I know that kids are priced out of. It's always kind of bothered me. I just don't know that I've figured that out yet, but it's something at some point I would like for us to, you know, try and look at least even, you know, as we talk to service clubs and things like that, to identify that and maybe find ways to provide more scholarship funds for both. Like I say, I think the 8th grade DC trip and some of these international trips that happen at our high school. So get through the bond. It's kind of my thought of the next thing I'd like for us to try and tackle a little bit.
Yeah. So, and no worries on following
Yeah,
up on that. I was just sort of, you know, curious and to make kind of a public statement about the scholarship.
Well, and this is a full
and-
8-day trip, so.
Yeah.
You know,
And
think
it's-
about
Thinking
8
it was a
days.
good price.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
8
the
days.
program looks incredible. I mean, I want to go.
Considering what it is, you're right, Beth. You know, it's just there are many kids still that are priced out of, you know, of that kind of a thing. So, like I said, I think they're doing their due diligence. I know that many times these trips they do everything they can to cut costs, but yet, you know, one of the things that we have put in is some things such as for the board photos of the accommodations, things like that, because we don't want it so much that safety is ever at risk, or you know they're in a type of environment that's not you know just somewhat you know quality. You know, I think that some of them, I know that they live in rather meager conditions, you know, that maybe times are at a mission or different things that is a service learning kind of a thing. But again, I think the key thing is that it's a safe environment, it's clean, they have basic necessities that are all supposed to be there. And that's one of the things we have incorporated into the international trips especially, as well as safety plans on what that looks like, so.
Yeah. Well, good. If there's no other questions, then we will move that to the consent calendar for our regular board meeting. So moving on to our informational items. So the first item on the agenda is the board curriculum learning series, which is regarding AI, artificial intelligence. And thanks for being here. I know you guys have, you were a little busy at our last meeting. We postponed it to this meeting. So we really appreciate everything that has happened and everything that you guys have done for TCAPS. We know you've been kind of working overtime, so.
Thank you.
We had issues with that, yeah,
I thought we had issues with it last time, but
we did
That
too.
TV.
Yeah.
we'll see.
I know, I
It's a
reviewed.
good thing we got some tech people here.
Right?
Did you try switching the source, Kelly?
The source?
Yeah.
And how do I do that on this little pad?
Gosh, you sound like me at home. It won't work. Trying, it won't work.
Well, how about this? Danielle's gonna kick
Wow.
this
We're
off,
fine.
and then
I
I'm
think
gonna
we
go
can
take a
all-
look at
I
it.
think we can all go right here. We're okay.
Yeah.
Let's all have to turn chairs. We'll
Yeah,
be fine.
this is fine.
So, I have with me Danielle Brostrom, one of our amazing ed tech coaches. She's been going around to almost every building, I believe, at this point, talking to the various staffs about artificial intelligence, where we're hoping to go with it. And we just actually did a presentation to all the principals last week, which was really good, kind of getting that same information in front of them. As we all know, it's a hot button topic. It's something that everyone's interested in engaging in. And so it's something we want to try and do our best to stay as ahead of as possible. I don't know if that's really a reasonable request. AI is changing by the day. So we tried to build that into kind of some of this discussion here that you'll see. And what we're hoping to kind of put in place is what we're calling our guidance for artificial intelligence. So with that, I'll let Danielle kind of walk you through some of the fun things to look at and talk about with AI.
All right, so I want to start with a little challenge. This person does not exist. One of these is a real human. The other has been completely generated by AI. Can you tell the difference? I will tell you, sometimes you can tell by the hands. Sometimes the hands look a little funky. In this case, you don't have that option. So I will tell you that number 2 is AI generated.
Wow.
Okay?
You could see her skin. You can't see it here, but you could see it on my computer screen
Yep.
at home. And she, I was totally convinced it was that. Just
Here's your
some
next
flaws.
one. Here's some children, which is AI generated. Number 1 is AI generated. These are all from a website called This Person Does Not Exist, and every time you refresh it, it just creates a new person generated with AI. So this concerns me, right? There's a lot we need to do here with our students, and with ourselves, frankly, to be able to tell which is AI and which is not. I heard number 1 over here. Number 2.
And I've
Sorry.
seen the presentation before. They are good.
It's number 2.
Yes.
Number 2.
Yes. I had to pull up the answers on my computer to make sure I gave you the right ones. So, what is artificial intelligence? This is a great video from Common Sense Media. It is made for secondary students to explain about AI, but honestly, I think it's a great introduction for grown-ups as well. So, Kelly, I'm not quite sure how to make this play on here. Well, thanks.
Human intelligence, like identifying an object, understanding human speech. You've probably heard a lot about AI recently, but what is it, really? AI, or artificial intelligence, is when we teach computers how to do things that usually require human intelligence, like identifying an object, understanding human speech, and even talking. But how do you teach a computer to learn and think? Well, it's kind of like when you train a pet to do tricks. Think of AI as a robot dog that you're training to fetch a toy. At first, your robot dog might not even know what a dog toy is, so that's the first thing you need to teach it. You show it lots of pictures of dog toys so that it learns to recognize them quickly and easily. It might make some mistakes at first, but with each correct answer, it gets a reward. Over time, the dog's recognition improves, the same way you improve at any task the more you do it. And once the robot dog gets really good at recognizing what a dog toy is, you can move on to teaching it the next step of playing fetch, running after the toy and bringing it back to you. This is basic AI, which learns by analyzing lots of data, in this case, pictures of dog toys and how to play fetch. But there's something even more complex, called generative AI, which is more like a creative robot that can improvise when it comes to making art or writing. Unlike the robot dog, the creative robot learns from everything on the internet. Videos, text, photos, you name it. When you ask it a question or give a hint, it uses what it has learned from the internet to create new things, like answers, stories, or even pictures. But here's the catch. That creative robot can sometimes make mistakes, and it doesn't know the difference between good and bad. It doesn't know if what it creates is helpful or hurtful. It can't always tell facts from fiction or know where its information comes from. It might even use someone's work without crediting them. It just sucks up all the random or not so random information that's floating out there on the internet. That's why we, as humans, have to think hard and be critical about the information we receive from AI. We have to know what it does well and what it doesn't do well. As we use generative AI in our lives, remember that we have to be smart and responsible with how we use it.
Thank you, Kelly. Is it gonna let me? Okay. So this is the least powerful AI we will see in our lifetime. Can you play this video really quick? This is created by Sora. There isn't sound in this one. Sora is an AI tool creation or a creation tool from ChatGPT. Simple text prompt for this one. It was like, give me a stylish woman walking down a Tokyo street filled with warm glowing neon, animated city signage. She walks confidently and casually. It explained what she was wearing, and it produced this. Pretty good, right? Pretty incredible. And frankly, a little scary. So I do want to talk about some of the ways that AI can help in our schools, and AI can definitely increase accessibility and access for our students. There is a tool, we're going to go through some of the tools that students do have access to right now. The first one is voice typing within Google Docs. This helps out a lot of kids that just have trouble typing their thoughts down. They can click on the little microphone and just speak their words, and Google Docs will translate it or put it in the document for them. There's also automatic captioning that we can turn on to all of our presentations. You just turn it on and it will type what you say up on the front of the screen for the kids. Google Translate is another thing that obviously can help when you go to a foreign country or when English is new to you or you're still learning. Talking Points is a free service that it's quite amazing. It helps you communicate with families that are limited English. The teacher can text or type on their computer in English, and it automatically translates into the family's language. The family receives it on their phone as a text. They type back in their language, and then it's translated again on the back end. Again, this is all AI done.
Is this an app?
This is an app. This is free. It is a nonprofit. Diffit is one that our teachers are really liking right now. Diffit is what we like to call freemium. There is a basic level that is free, but teachers can pay for more advanced options. What's pretty neat is you can put in any topic. You can put in a full text. You can put in a YouTube video, and it will give you, based on the reading level that you choose and the language, you can get a summary, you can get vocabulary, you can get sample questions, and you can go through and change them before you give them to the student too. And then you can just refresh that as many times as possible. This happens within, less than a minute. You can put in your topic, put in you need a 4th grade in English or a different language, and then it will give you something to help that student. AI can also increase productivity and save time. We've seen this happen in our Gmail recently. You'll notice it will try to guess what you're going to say and type it for you. You can either accept or decline. Also on the right, there's the Smart Compose that has 3 options for you to choose from if you want to use those in your Gmail. The big one everyone is talking about, the ChatGPT, the Google Gemini, the Microsoft Copilot, the ones that will actually generate text for you. Again, it's just doing that predictive text. It's gathering up all the bits of data that it's sucked up from the internet, and it's predicting what word will come next. So still, students and staff and anyone who uses it, frankly, needs to have their critical thinking turned on for sure to make sure that what they are getting from these products is not biased or frankly just flat out incorrect. Magic School is another one that our teachers are liking. Magic School is another freemium, the basic level free for teachers, and then upgrades they can pay for, but it's just a teacher-friendly dashboard on top of ChatGPT. So instead of having to type in the actual prompt saying, create me a lesson plan for 3rd grade based on bees, they can go into the lesson plan generator, and it will kind of talk to them like a coach. It will say, have you thought about this? And would you like to add in this? And maybe you should do this for these students. It's the format is really teacher friendly. So when we're talking about guidelines that we would like to be using when we talk about AI, the first one is all of our AI is going to fall under our existing policies and regulations. So we're still looking at all of the AI to make sure that the tools students can use and staff can use, making sure that they protect student privacy, making sure that they have accessibility built in, protecting against harmful content. We're not sharing personally identifiable information with these systems, and then just continuing to evaluate them through the procedures that we already have. We already have a hardware software request form, so we're just putting the AI tools teachers want to use through that same form and talking about them within that context. We do think that AI has a lot of potential to help students achieve their educational goals, and we also think we need to be talking to our staff and our students about AI. Common Sense Education has a ton of incredible resources for both staff and students and families, so that's something that we definitely make happen for our district. We think that AI should be used to advance academic integrity and maintaining student and teacher agency. So ultimately, the teachers have the decision to whether they want to use AI in that assignment, in that classroom. We do think that there's great potential here. There's a responsibility checklist that is linked on your slideshow, which you can take a look at if you want. That came from Google, but I think it's really valuable because it does remind people that you need to review the things you get from AI to decide whether they're appropriate or not. You likely have to change them. You should disclose that you used AI because we're being transparent and ethical. And then again, not putting in any kind of student information into the AI tools. That 80-20 on the side, what we're hearing from some of the experts in AI is that a smart use of AI is to let AI do 80% of the work and you put on the 20% human-powered finish to make it good, to make it your own. So that is something that we're recommending as well. Okay. Continuing to explore the opportunities of AI and address the risks. This stuff changes all the time. I will say our current guidelines and our current work is aligned with all of the big names that are talking about this, that are doing the work. Places like Digital Promise, McCall, which is our state ed tech board, Common Sense Media, ISTE, Michigan Virtual. It also aligns with the call to action that came out from the U.S. Department of Ed in 2024, the National Ed Tech Plan, which I also linked in there. That is a very, very lengthy document, but I will tell you it's all about increasing access and giving kids what they need in the classroom, and AI does have a great potential to help with that. And obviously, because this is continuing to change every single day, we do review this often, and we're in the weeds, we're doing the work here. So that whole idea of access versus exposure, when can kids actually get on and use it? When do kids just have exposure to the misinformation side of it? Some AI literacy tips that we are going to share for TCAPS would be that elementary kids essentially know that AI is not human. They need to be able to critically analyze the things that they get from AI and seeing whether it makes sense to them, whether it doesn't make sense. Again, putting on that critical thinking part of their brain. And then just lying this in with all our digital citizenship lessons. So having them reflect, seek facts and evidence, look for where else that information is shared, those kinds of things. Secondary students, there's those great AI literacy lessons that we talked about from Common Sense Media. Those would be awesome to have taught in secondary. And then our staff, we need to work with them on how AI can do the things we talked about, how it can increase accessibility, increase access, how it can help them increase their productivity and save them time, give them time back for the things that really matter. And then how to approach this idea of AI literacy and AI usage with their students. Elementary students cannot use most AI tools on their own due to privacy. A lot of the privacy policies state that under 13 should not be on there, and we definitely agree with that. But they should have exposure to AI-produced work that they can analyze and look at. Secondary students do have access to AI tools, again, depending on those privacy policies, but they're encouraged to transparently use it under the guidance of their teacher when the teacher has allowed its use. Again, putting it back in the teacher's hands. And then staff are encouraged to use it when it makes sense, to be transparent when they use it. And this is a big one, do not use AI for formal grading or for tasks that deserve humanity. Let AI do the things that help give you back the time so you can spend time with your students and the tasks that deserve the humanity. And then Evan's gonna talk about some guidance that we worked on.
Oh yeah, if you mind opening that. So that document linked at the bottom of that slide there is kind of our draft AI guidance that was put together by Danielle and others, taking from all those organizations and kind of the policies that they've taken a look at. Like it says right there on the top, we certainly still consider this a draft. It's something that we are working to get in front of as many of our folks as possible in order to get their opinions on it, get their feedback on it, so that we can, create a document, again, that we feel comfortable using, that all the teachers are familiar with, that they feel comfortable referencing when, again, doing these things with their students, exposing them to AI or using AI within their own teaching. So the hope is to have all that feedback back so that this is something we feel comfortable putting in place as not a draft, but an AI guidance document for next year moving forward. And so, as we said, we've shared that with our principals, the staff groups. We have a technology integration curriculum committee that has been looking at it as well with those teachers who are kind of specially focused on that. And it goes through just a lot of those things in writing that Danielle shared in the presentation. What are our guiding principles for the use? What do we feel like that responsible use of AI tools looks like? What are we considering prohibited use of those AI tools? And so we certainly want us as an organization and a district to have that feedback in there so that we can all kind of point to this and feel comfortable using this as that guidance moving forward. And knowing that it's a living, breathing document, it's going to be changing as AI is changing, like we said, daily. I don't know if we'll be able to update this daily, but we certainly hope to kind of keep our eyes on it and as different items come up, certainly make those adjustments necessary and share that out with folks so that we're all on a same page district-wide on kind of what our goals and purposes are with AI, but most importantly, not avoiding kind of those conversations and the use of it, because that would be a disservice to both our staff and our students. And that's where we are right now, the AI process. More to come, certainly, and I'm sure more conversations will be forthcoming.
What do you, total curiosity, what do you think the approximate use of our staff is using AI right now?
That's a good question.
And I mean, they could dabble versus like use it every day, but like just generally, I'm just curious.
I think they're still dabbling. I think you'll hear some staff will say, I tried it, and what I got back was kind of, so I just stopped. And that tells me there's a lot of work there that we could do with how do you prompt the AI and that you can have conversations with it and use it as like a thought partner. So there's still a lot of work that I'd like to do with staff on how to get the most out of AI.
Yeah.
But a lot of them have dabbled in it, especially after the work that we've been doing with the schools.
I think, and like we said, over the summer and as teachers are coming back and preparing for the next year and probably those considerations of with AI in the mix, right? How does that impact what they maybe typically did or how they're planning? We're going to see a lot more of those conversations, as Danielle said, and looking and dabbling to full-on kind of use of this might be a really good avenue for us to explore some AI with my students, which I hadn't done typically before.
What about the students? How much are they using it? And have we had any issues with,
I think there's a lot of students dabbling and using. I think there's no way around that. And so it's just really important for us to inform kind of, like we said, the staff to be able to have the conversations with the students. I know the easy path, we even had this discussion with the principals, is there a tool out there that will detect it so I can, figure out if someone's using it? And there's really not a reliable tool. I mean, there's plenty out there that are advertising it as the same kind of plagiarism checkers that we've had in the past. But unfortunately, they're not consistent, and they don't consistently identify what's AI and not. So we just don't want to lean on something like that. So that was a really great conversation we had with the principals, and I know Danielle's been having with the staff about kind of just how to have those thoughtful conversations, talk to your students, rethink what you're doing. If it's easily answered by dumping it into an AI prompting, then is that a good question? Should you consider moving it if you feel that everyone might be taking advantage of it? Because we can only control so much, and we don't want to get in the business of kind of locking down, controlling everything. But the students at home, on your phone, when those are all open for them to kind of use that AI resource, and so we want them to do it responsibly and think about that. I'm using this AI because it's helping me, again, get that 80% done, but I'm putting my critical thought on it with that last 20%, and I'm having that open discussion. And I think if we get to that point, we'll be in a really good place as a district with how we're using it.
One of the things that's interesting is with our Superintendent Board Advisory Council, we talked to them about this. And it definitely was interesting. The depth in which they were using it was not as deep as we thought. The other piece they said is that their teachers that are using it, it's definitely, they are more cognizant of making sure that they use it responsibly with those teachers. So a lot of our AP courses that have writing elements are using, the teachers are grading them, but also have an AI rubric prompt that grades the FRQs as well. I'm talking to some of our AP kids, and they don't like the AI as well. They don't think it does it as well as the teacher, which is interesting and thought that the kids had. And so they also said that a lot of their teachers that in elements of writing, the teachers are very adamant that they have multiple recorded drafts of their thoughts. And so you just don't go to AI and go, please do this 2-page paper for me on, the Civil War. That and there are tools now, even AI tools, that kind of have you break off and capture that, including connecting your sources and all those things to it, that are also emerging as well. So it's a new world in that way, but the teachers that are starting to understand how to use AI also understand how to make sure they're keeping their students accountable to their thoughts, their ideas, their values. It was talked a little bit about today of some of these AI tools. They have specific values that may not be your same values. So how do you express that in your writing and those elements? So definitely will be interesting. I had the chance actually to go see some of the real cutting edge AI through a group called Arizona State University and Global Silicon Valley. And they have a lot of people that are on the cusp of startups with AI, and you get to see really what they're thinking of the next steps with it. So between Digital Promise and the League of Innovative Schools that we've seen with that, we are seeing some amazing tutoring services that are starting to come out that I think is going to be cutting edge for students that maybe struggle, and teachers having additional resource for group activity, those kind of things. It'll really be interesting. And so one of the pieces that I'm looking at, we have the chance, Gwinnett County in Georgia is really a group that a lot of people feel have done a ton of work with their board and such on AI policy in that element. And I think that the interesting thing we saw with that is starting out on with their policies on all the great things it can do, then talk about the guideposts and those things versus starting out with the no aspects. So I think it'll, over the next 6 months, even getting our hands more wrapped around this, I think that we'll be doing more with the board to see some of those things.
It's interesting. In real estate, it's really prominent right now. Like a year ago, they started talking about AI and how to write, listing. And it was like, whoa, I'm not very tech savvy. So I was like, well, that's crazy, but it's so easy. It's actually so easy. And now reading some new listings that have come on the market, you can tell it's AI. You could, because of the,
Sameness.
The verbiage and the way
or
it is.
just like the words that you wouldn't like, you wouldn't normally hear. So it's from that perspective, it's nice because sometimes it gives you fresh ideas of like how to write a write-up, but it also, I can recognize when someone doesn't use that human element to manipulate the language. It's like, you can take what it is, but you have to put your own touch or else you can tell it's kind of, so.
And I think
Yeah, fake.
getting back to Danielle's point, this is the worst AI we will ever have.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, because it just keeps getting
It'll
better.
be better tomorrow, and then better the day after that, and the day after that. So.
Yeah.
Well, it's excitingly frightening a little bit, I think.
Great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very true. So.
It's interesting because there was an article, it may have been in Smithsonian, I'm not sure, and they were having AI sculpt something and talking to people that were sculptors, and they just absolutely didn't like it. Because there's like a sameness to it. You feel like the individual creativity, thought just isn't there, and I think that you could run into that in writing as well. And you think about nuances in vocabulary and stuff like that. When you're just pulling everything that comes at you and fitting it into the slot, it's a bit different than being as intentional about it.
And I agree. It'll just be interesting if it starts to figure out regional dialects, all those kind of things,
Yeah.
those things that gets towards your point, but not there in a lot of ways yet. I would
Well,
agree.
yeah, and where I used to work, we had a lot of foreign people, and we didn't speak the languages. We spoke English, but we would use translating services. We'd use a blue phone kind of thing, and you talk into the phone, it would translate back and forth, sort of like a UNE sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you were never really sure how well they understood what you were trying to tell them. You felt like you always had the potential that you're going to have to go back and start from square one because you just thought maybe you missed it.
It'll be interesting to see where
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah.
But to treat it like a crutch, an incredible crutch, but God willing, you don't have to walk with the crutch entirely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Evan and Danielle, for being here, and really great stuff. And we look forward to kind of hearing what the draft resonates with staff and students, and then how that comes, into like a guideline. I think will be interesting to see that. So, really appreciate you both being here. So. Okay, so we'll move on to English Language Arts K through 5 curriculum adoption update. Kirsten.
Yep, so this is just a real quick touch point to let you know that the selection and pilot team members met throughout the month of April. We had 6 full days of a critical review of both program options. If you remember, we're looking at one program that encompasses both the word recognition and language comprehension strands. And then we're looking at another option that is actually 2 very specialized programs, one that focuses on that word recognition, the other focusing on that background knowledge. So hats off to the team that came 6 days in the month of April. That's 6 days of teachers creating lesson plans. Those were intense days, and I'm just really pleased at the thoughtfulness of the staff that we have. Our selection team will be meeting, actually, I put down May 9th, but I think we actually are going to switch that to this Friday because we need a little bit of time to do all of the final work that would be necessary to bring our recommendation to this group by the end of this month. So I would anticipate that we would be able to make a recommendation to board curriculum, then to board finance, and ultimately to the full board. That's our goal by the end of this month.
Good, and they're feeling really good about where they're at, and
I think
it's a lot of work, I know.
Yes, I mean, I think we are really encouraged by both options, and there are pros and cons to both. And so now it's really kind of weighing out what we think is actually going to be in the best interest of our students. That's really the lens that we're looking at this. What option do we think is going to maximize our kids' potential to be successful as readers and writers? So, yeah, I mean, it's hard work, and I would say I've had people email me back and forth and back. Okay, now I'm thinking this way. Oh, now I'm thinking this way. And so at some point by this Friday, we're gonna say, okay, we're gonna stop thinking about this, and we're gonna make this call, and we're gonna move forward then into how do we plan and prepare our whole staff for what implementation looks like.
Great. Well, and just a shout out for we had a study session looking at, we had Kurt Rainey and Kate Burwinkle that presented to us. And it was interesting. I think you and I kind of made an eye contact of the connection of how Journeys hasn't reached those goals and where we aren't connecting those dots. And so full circle coming back to presenting a new curriculum for K through 5, I think is exciting. And so that was a full circle moment of that. So I know they did a great job at the presentation, and hopefully the community and the rest of the board got to really hear that. So, so good. Okay, well, we'll look forward to a...
Quick question.
Yeah, sorry. Beth.
Will we be able to look at any of the materials before you guys absolutely finalize it, or before it comes before the board, or even the curriculum committee, for like a pass? Will we be able to see any of the materials? So if you decide to go with one of the programs, can we see examples of some of the
Oh, for sure.
curriculum?
Yep. Are you asking if you can see both options, or are you asking?
Love it. I don't know if that's asking too much. Even just to look at, this is a sample of how it's set up. This is kind of just because, I looked at some of the Journeys material and I thought it was choppy. And I would just kind of like to see the approach. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm wondering, are you wanting to see that prior to our decision making or post?
Well, I'm not, I guess I'm not real picky. And I'm just a curious monkey.
What I think would make sense is once you get to an answer, to be able to provide the one that, we have
Sure.
that, and be able to have those materials to be able to look at.
Yeah.
And we actually
would
have
probably-
access to, we have samples here because that's what we've been doing is digging into and designing lessons as if we were going to present to students. So we have access to all of that.
So you just kind of have a sense for the strengths and weaknesses of the programs. Because it could be that in several years you may decide to switch,
You don't do it too often, though. It's pretty
Yeah.
expensive.
I understand
from that
I
aspect,
understand that.
And I would say our process has been, initially, we vetted 7 different programs using multiple instruments to determine whether or not they were aligned with A, the research and the science, and B, with what we have established as our vision of high quality reading and writing instruction for TCAPS. So out of all of the hundreds of curricula that are available, we narrowed that down to 7. We had a very in-depth process with that 7 to get down to these 2. And then this next level of work, what we really have done over this last month has been to take those 2 programs and to do a very deep dive into them. What would this experience be like for a teacher? What would this experience be like for a student should we go program A versus program B? And so I think to your point, when you're talking about this kind of money and this kind of investment financially, there's a huge responsibility. But even more importantly, we want to make sure that we're equipping our kids with the best option possible. This is, there is nothing, I think, more important, right, as an institution than making sure our kids are literate. So I can assure you that the degree to which we are combing through all of this is pretty extensive and exhaustive. But I would say the same thing about when people were trying to choose journeys, right? Nobody made that decision lightly. They were doing that with the information that they had. And so we have to be as careful and as deliberate and as intentional as we can. We are using the very best tools that are available to us across the nation. We're consulting experts. And I feel confident that we have two very viable options that are going to move our kids on this path. And of course, any board member, any community member would be welcome when we make that selection to review and take a look at it.
I know I was just hearing what you were saying, and I think just like Kirsten said, you have teachers that have done the work in the 6 days of being there and analyzing both programs, and they're still trying to decide, wait a minute, are we going to go this direction or that direction? I think that'd be a very difficult thing for that team to put outline two programs for somebody that hadn't been in the done the work.
I don't want the outline. What I'd like to do is actually see the materials.
But I'm
So
just
that's
saying
it.
for a group that's put so much time into that, then to bring it to even out, bringing some of those materials forward, I think the best use of probably their time is wait for them to make that decision and then have you sort of see what decision they've made. I think it makes more sense than going back and forth and spending time asking questions about one when maybe they won't decide that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I'm
I
just
may
trying to,
not
I'm just trying to think about
I'm
their
not-
time.
Yes, I understand. I'm not asking to intervene into their time and their decision-making process. I just, I'm curious to see how does that material look. I can't remember ever not being able to read. That maybe I just have long-term memory loss. I don't know. But and journeys, it just didn't connect for me, and I'm just curious,
When we get to that point, we'll make the
know.
materials so you can see
because
some.
I'd even be, interested in the other one because if they're that close, I'm just curious. Why do I read things that I do? I read anything almost.
Yep, we can get you.
It's curiosity.
Give us time to get to it. Once we get to it, we'll share them with you.
Kirsten, thank you to you and your team, because I haven't been a teacher and studying curricula and trying to find the best direction to go. It's difficult, so appreciate all the work you guys have done.
Especially with the expedited timeline.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not typical.
Not to mention.
Right.
On that note, to let you know,
Yeah.
a little snafu. So MDE made a mistake in our grant calculation.
The 2.7 million?
Is now what?
Take
1.16.
What?
Which if we had started there would have felt really great. But it
That's
was
still a good amount.
What?
And that's and
That's
I will give
no,
I'll give
no,
Krista
I
a lot of
know,
credit.
I know.
She has looked at the glass half full, not half empty. In all this.
I did spend a little time
Yeah, okay.
with the half empty,
Well,
but I'm over
you-
it.
All right, you get over it. So, the good news is, at least the base of what we still need, there'll be the funding for, but not probably all the bells and whistles we would have loved.
Seems
so,
like if it was their mistake, they should honor
You
their
know,
first calculation.
Right?
we don't have
That
enough
seems
hours
appropriate.
to debate all those issues right now.
That's the
So-
business idea,
Yeah.
not the government idea.
Yeah. So we're gonna, still get through this and that element, but do know it is scaled back as far as some of the extra supplemental things we wanted to do, some, full training we'll find ways, different things that, you know, we do have a curriculum budget that we have in our regular budget that, you know, will help, but, you know, it's just, Santa took a few presents back.
Well, when Heidi said this is unprecedented.
Yeah, so I just figured I might as well tell you now rather than tell you later on that.
Well, that's a bummer. That's like a Santa took the presents.
It really,
I
really
mean, Christmas is
is.
still here, you know, but it just,
But you're not getting the, you know.
right, exactly. There was a bike and now there's not a bike.
Yeah.
There's a mini bike.
Exactly.
There was a bike, and then we were like, and if you can't ride a bike, we're gonna put some training wheels on,
Exactly,
and then we're gonna be,
exactly.
you know, so it is an adjustment because the possibilities with that kind of money were sort of spectacular. And so now I think we're readjusting to kind of go back to, well, we're still in a really good space to be able to make a really good decision and have the bulk of it paid for through grant dollars, which is still a huge gift to the district and other curricular expenses. But yeah, it was a hard thing to scale back from.
Yeah, so it went from 2.7 to 1.3?
I think it was 1.16.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
And these programs are over $1 million to purchase. So, so that, in essence, is the money. But that's money then we don't have to take out of the curriculum budget.
That's
right.
So.
That's right. Okay. Well, thank you for those updates. I'm not gonna thank MD for their mistake. We'll just keep on moving.
It was a little. Wait, what?
But we already spent it. You
I
should've said
I
we
know.
already spent
I was
I
like
was happy
ready.
that wasn't the case.
Should have. Gosh.
Did they tell you that, or did they send you a letter and then they rescinded it?
To be honest, I that
Heidi
is
got the information
yes.
back. I haven't had a chance to talk to her about it yet,
yes.
but I will learn. But
Because
you know,
if they had it in writing, that just seems
No,
like that's a
it
heck
doesn't.
of a-
Like if the sticker
It's
price.
the Department of Education.
Yeah.
it
so-
is. They have the ability to go, no, you know, and some of those things which, you know, like I'll give you another example. We have that right now is our transportation category did go from 1.5 down to $1 million. $500,000 from what we budgeted, you know, which we even had on paper at one point, is now $1 million after some changes. You know,
Yeah,
so
you-
that is what's so hard about school finance is that the state does this. They give you the numbers and range. Well, maybe, well, not, and then here you are, almost to the end of the school year, and then you get the adjustment. You know, it's too late. You know, you can't make a change. You know, and in that element. So that's the world we live in, and we do the best we can in it.
I understand. It's a reverse inflation, if you will.
Right. On us. So.
So we'll move, excuse me, on to celebrations and successes.
All right, well, Kirsten and I are going to tag team. This is just a picture from West Middle School last week at our planned pick crew with principals, where our awesome tech team shared on artificial intelligence. Very similar presentation today, and then discussion about some of the guidance and next steps. So they'll be giving us feedback or giving the tech team feedback before summer, correct?
Yeah.
Before summer.
Yep.
For implementation this fall. Our next one was I get to participate in watching the East Middle School Debate Club. So this was really cool. Not only was it an evening event, they also had the high school debate coach there from Central and some students from the high school who were actually giving the middle school students feedback. They also had a debate. It was students versus parents. So there was one of them where they had a topic and they were debating against, and then the team gave feedback.
Oh my gosh, I feel like a
idea.
flashback to
Right?
my home life right now.
I mean, what I thought was really cool, not only just that they had the high school students there giving feedback from the debate club, but just a great way to pipeline
So
students
cool.
there.
Really
right?
cool.
And then also the high school debate teacher said, this is really kind of incredible how large the audience was, because when they actually are doing debate at the high school, they're in much smaller venues. So they're actually getting experience in front of a lot more people doing this. So it was really cool. Very fun night. The next one is, several of us here, I think in the room, got to participate in senior exit interviews during the West Senior High senior exit interviews. This was, again, an opportunity with business leaders to come in and community leaders to come in and actually interview, and students present their resume and kind of their next steps, and we get a chance to give them both written and verbal feedback. And I've also offered to, just in general, to give the teachers feedback that I saw in the process, and, you know, practice handshakes, eye contact, body language in an interview. So it's just, I always enjoy this, one of my favorite days.
I know, so
Doing
fun.
this.
Was this your first year doing it, Beth, or second year?
Was this, no, what
Central.
I did was,
Yeah, we did
The
Central
South.
High School.
Yes.
we did Central,
Yeah.
but it was the English paper that they were writing.
Yeah.
Was what we were doing.
Yes.
And Josie was there too, I
It's a
think.
little, it's similar. I usually do both. I couldn't do West.
I
'cause
couldn't
we
do
had a-
Central,
we
and I don't
had
have
a track
pictures from
meet.
that. So just if you get some,
No,
oh, is that from there? That one?
This
Okay.
is Central.
Okay.
And this is Central.
Okay,
Yeah,
see,
it
I
looks
didn't get to go to that one,
Yeah.
so I think Connie and I were the
Yeah,
West ones, yeah, all right. So for both.
Yeah. So, same ELA, yeah.
Loved it.
Good
The
stuff.
ELA,
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was great. The kids did a great job, and it's always fun. It's always the highlight, you know, seeing the kids in
Absolutely.
action. So yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to be in Mr. K's office for a monthly one-on-one meeting, and took a picture and kind of posted it to the professional Twitter site about just the love and celebration of all of the staff and students that lifted him up and created it like a new office decor for him, and just some encouragement notes, and thought that was really cool. And he was begrudgingly let me take a picture. But I just thought, you know, it's really important just to tell our story, and this is like an awesome picture, and just, you know, to be over there and just have some great systems in place to support, you know, very challenging student behaviors at times this year, and with the work of Misty in place, kind of helping that team, it's just been awesome. I'm gonna turn over to Kirsten to do the next few.
All right. Oh, Beth, did you have something?
I just wanted to say, I was at Traverse Heights yesterday, and got to help pick the team of the month.
house.
Oh, the house,
Yeah, the house
nice.
of the month, and that was fun. So I asked him if I could talk it up, and he said, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
They
it's
do
awesome.
good work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
innovative."
What a great sense of belonging for students in that structure.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm Ontario, by the way.
You're
I'm on
Ontario? Okay, all right,
team,
great,
just,
great.
just in
I
case.
picked Erie.
Okay, all right.
Because they hadn't been picked this year.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So we just wanted to give a shout out to our robotics team, the TC Titans, FRC 3767. While they did not make the elimination rounds, they actually performed the best that they have all year. And obviously, we want to give a shout out to the coach, our mentors, the families, their sponsors. It's a huge undertaking, and what a great experience for our students to be able to participate in that. We also wanted to just again thank this group of pretty exceptional educators who provided a really nice detailed overview and summary of elementary student achievement. So we had principals, we had teachers, we had instructional coaches. So just wanted to again acknowledge them and the amount of time and energy they put into that study session. And we couldn't not put in some solar eclipse viewings. Did you guys get a chance? Did everyone get a chance to see the eclipse? It was
Yes,
It was
so
pretty cool.
Look at
Okay,
the
I
face.
love
Look at
this
the
little
face.
guy. That's a junior kindergartner at Long Lake over there in the whoa.
so great. Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt too.
I know. And shout out to TCAPS for actually providing glasses for every single TCAP student. I mean, we had people scrambling just in my work environment trying to find glasses, and I kept bragging about that TCAPS gave glasses to every single student so they could see
You
it.
just handed them out a bucket of water, right? And you told them you look into the water.
No, I said, I don't know, go to Speedway. I heard they're giving away. I go to the library. Oh, they're out. Like 8,000 glasses out. So
Well, you know, credit to our team. I mean, we debated that. I
We
don't know,
did.
A couple of months before.
We
time.
sought a lot of feedback from a lot
Right.
of other districts too on what people were doing.
You know, and there was a time, you know, where I know I sat with our regional superintendents and like, what are you talking about? You know, and so, you know, we were proactive on it, you know, because there were districts as far as southern Michigan for the most part that canceled school. you know, with it. And, you know, I was kind of facing that. I said, man, I don't want to cancel school, you know, and so what made sense was, you know, it's an investment. I think they cost us like 90 cents each, something like that, $1 each, for, you know, I think 9,000 of them. It's an amount you kind of go, we could use 9,000 in a lot of places, but in the end, it allowed us to have school. It was a very cool thing, you know, from a science standpoint for the kids to be able to see that's, you know, maybe twice in a lifetime kind of an event. So, but we did collect a lot and recycle that we're going to send. There is in South America, with the wave that the sun hits, there's going to be another that's viewed there. So we're sending them and dropping them off and mailing them so that they'll be able to use them for free with the one next year. So
That's cool.
That's great. Really, really great. And
They gonna mail them back? So
probably
you get
not.
them in the
I
next
think
7
that
years?
it's 20. I think it's 22 years
How
before we have
many?
another one. So I told him
they'll be lost in the storage building
Exactly.
somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Dr. Van Wagner, myself, and Tiffany Palmaville were fortunate enough to sit down with some of our TC Central students at the Northwest Ed and then learned about this Photo Voice project that they were participating in. So I wanted to share, 'cause Tiffany was able to go and take some pictures. So these are some of our students who participated in this, and I'll just share a couple pictures. These are some of the people who've been influential in their lives. Next slide, please. And here's a picture of the group that we met with, and then just again their depiction of some of the things that have been important to them in their journey. And these students are part of the Northwest Ed diversity team or diversity club at school, and we're looking to meet with the West Senior High students as well. And Tiffany was able to go, so I'm really excited. I think you and I were both out of town that day, but she was able to go. So
I would, if you have a moment, I would just encourage everyone on that previous slide. I just noticed and read.
the reading.
Yeah.
Do you want to
so-
read that? Can you read it from your screen? Because I can't.
I can.
Okay.
It says, so the image on the left, which is of a young girl with an older woman, said, growing up without solid footing, especially living in a predominantly white area, having a relationship with a strong black woman is important. It really shaped how I am and how I carry myself. This is my sister. She helped influence who I am. She taught me to see disrespect for what it is and to never let anyone have power over you. And then the image on the right said, I think I can be a difficult person to understand because of my childhood. My sister has always been there for me, even now. She moved me in with her so I wouldn't fall with the wrong crowd and for a better education. I want to be great. I want to be successful.
And the next slide, do you want to read that one? Oh, I
And
think
then the
everybody
next
can see that
slide,
one.
it's a little easier to read, but it says, everyone is welcome and involved. No worries about what will come next. It is a good feeling just being in the moment and taking it all in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for reading those. That's
Yeah.
Great.
And we had Earth Day. So this is showing Blair Elementary. This is their junior kindergarten pairing up with their 5th grade. They went out and cleaned up the woods behind the playground.
I heard they found all the missing balls.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine.
Last week at Lunch Buddies, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all the soccer balls.
Uh-huh.
Left there from the winter?
Yeah.
Aside- who knows how many hats and mittens and
Yeah.
This is Cortate Elementary, so they participate with Northwest Ed's Farm to School, and so they had a really good time outside, just kind of enjoying nature and working with community and parent volunteers. This is Long Lake Elementary Junior Kindergarten, mini field trips. I love those little times to get kids outside. Little breaks in the day, obviously picking up garbage, and then going to the Joy Givers Senior Home, which is right next door to Long Lake, and having some time with those residents. And then I don't know if anyone has had an opportunity to see the balance bikes in action, but it is arguably one of the cutest things ever. So Norte goes around to elementaries and works with mostly the preschool programs. And the balance bikes have no pedals, so it's really just kids just kind of pedaling along. And they always do this parade. There's a little bike safety that goes with it, but it's it's pretty adorable, and the kids are like thinking it's the greatest thing ever. So obviously this is at Central Grade. Just some appreciation of some of the folks that I think often are behind the scenes. So this is East Middle School, bringing a little cart around to the transportation bus drivers just to say thanks for what you're doing. And of course, it was Administrative Assistant Day. We have an outstanding executive administrative assistant with us right now, Kelly Walter.
Does
who-
all things behind the scenes.
everything.
Managed
so,
the move, like single-handedly on
Yeah.
some days.
and clearly made herself ill in the process. So, but just we have so many exceptional AAs across our district. So certainly wish we had more than a day that we could shower them with all of the appreciation they deserve. But it's just a picture of some of them.
Aw,
Good stuff.
good stuff. I love that we always end our meeting with those celebrations.
And we're celebrating our last curriculum committee meeting in this building, in this room.
Yes.
This is it.
This is it. Should we invite the squirrel and one last time?
Might invite themselves before it's said and done,
Wow, yeah, right. After this, we'll be over at the Glen Loomis building there. So, absolutely. All right. Any other questions or?
If we'd been at Glen Loomis today, I wouldn't have been late.
Next
Right.
time, next time.
Right, that's right. So with that, our next curriculum board meeting will be Tuesday, May 28th at 8:30, again at the Glen Administration at the Glen Loomis building, which is on the South Oak Street. And with that, we adjourn the meeting. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here, Danielle and Evan. Good to see you guys.